There are two kinds of people in this world. Either you're doing things you know you shouldn't, or you're not doing things you know you should. Guess what? We're both. Hi, I'm Marci Barker, life and business coach, aka your loving kick in the pants. This podcast is here to help you become accountable with aligned action and become boss-minded while growing a business without sacrificing what matters most. Let's dive in. Good morning, my beautiful people. I'm so glad you're here to listen to another episode or watch your loving kick in the pants. And this is a very exciting episode for me to create because it is my 10-year anniversary in business. And that seems so crazy. I started my business when my kids were 1, 3, 5, and 7. And who does that? That's like the worst time to start something really big. But throughout these little tidbits, I'm going to share with you just how things have progressed. And again, the biggest lessons I've learned to stick with it. You know, most companies don't stay in business longer than 5 years. So we're going to talk about some of the lessons I learned when I hit 5 years and I kept going. But ultimately, I want this podcast to be a place of motivation and inspiration for you because you're listening to this because you have goals and you want to do better. Your loving kick in the pants means you're either doing things that you know you shouldn't, or you want to start doing things that you know you should. So this is going to be a longer episode, but I hope you enjoy it, and let's dive right in. All right, I started my business in September of 2015. My business was born because I got a degree in physical education and health. I was a personal trainer, and my husband said, "You need to personal train people on the internet." And I was like, that's really stupid. I said, "You're taking the personal out of personal training." And he said, "No, you can do it. You know how to lose baby weight. We can do this." And so I thought, you know what, I'm going to try that. So it was September. I was just barely getting started. So 2015, my lesson for you is be bold and willing to stand out. In the first year of my business, I went to 8 different conferences to learn about digital marketing, internet marketing, and starting a business. And the internet space made sense to me because my husband was a computer programmer. So when I talk about being bold and being willing to stand out, I went to a conference one time and there was like 300 or 400 people at this hotel. It was in Las Vegas, and the person who put the conference on, he was just talking and talking and talking like for hours and hours straight. And it was so inspirational, but educational as well. One of the things that I loved about the format that he was doing is he had 2 microphones on either side of the room, and people could just come up and ask him questions. And I don't know about you guys, but have you ever had that feeling in your heart where you're like, I gotta get up, I gotta share, I gotta ask a question? Even though I'm 93% extroverted and very willing to be in front of a crowd, I still get that feeling very often, and I listen to that feeling because I know that it's something I should do. I also want that feeling to go away. So the best way to make it go away is to take action on it. And when I got up, you know, you're standing in line, you're waiting for your turn, and I remember being so nervous, but also recognizing that I had to say something that was going to get me some attention in the very best way, and not just to ask a question, but to tell the entire room what I do, because here I am trying to grow a business. So I got up to the microphone and I asked something to the effect of, "Hey, I'm a mom in Utah. My kids are 1, 3, 5, and 7, and I want to be different because me being a young mom in Utah is not that special." And I remember saying this question, and because I was in Las Vegas, I was not in Utah, there were a lot of like, there's no way she has 4 kids. Because mind you, 10 years ago, I was 26 and I had 4 kids and I was this cute young mom. I was expecting at a conference, I would have to go and meet all of these people, try and find clients. But the second I took the microphone, I didn't have to do that anymore. People came to me. And that was so refreshing because there was no shortage of conversations of people who wanted to talk to me. But it was only because I was willing to be bold and took the microphone and put myself out there. So I want you to know, if you're starting a business, you got to start putting yourself out there in ways that maybe make you a little uncomfortable or give you that pounding in your heart or you get all sweaty. But in business, you absolutely have to be bold and you have to be willing to stand out because, one, I tell my clients all the time, there's 2 different ways to start shifting people's beliefs in business. And one is you either have to convince people that your industry and your niche is needed, that there's a problem to be solved, or you have to convince people within your niche that you are the best solution, that you are better than other people. So being bold, willing to stand out, you absolutely have to do that. That is my lesson for 2015. My lesson for 2016 is raise your prices. And I know you might be hearing that and you're like, I just did. Or you're like, I don't know how I can. I'm not sure how that works. But one thing that made me successful in business from early on, my programs hit almost every state in the country in the first year. It was because my program, my personal training program, was only $4.95. Okay. I taught people, it was called the Healthy Eating Challenge. I taught people how to make healthy eating fun and sustainable without supplements, without stupid wraps or shakes or pills or anything like that. I literally taught people about their food. I taught them about nutrition and held them accountable. From day one, it's always been about accountability. So when I got a lot of clients all over the place and I realized that there was a need for this and I was actually pretty good at it and I could work with a lot of people at once, it was time to raise my prices. So my accountability program, my Healthy Eating Challenge, started at $4.95 and then it went up to $24.95 and then it went up to $67. And I think at the peak I was selling it for like $150, which is so reasonable for the results I was getting people and for the average pricing of hiring a personal trainer. So if you have social proof and you have clients and you have results and you have the ability to show and articulate the results you can get people, consider raising your prices because that's how you're going to make more money in business. And ultimately, that's how you sustain business, is making enough money to keep your doors open. That's my lesson for 2016. My lesson for 2017 is continue learning and increase your abilities. Now, here's something that's kind of funny. In the fitness industry, back then, nobody asked me for my credentials. Nobody asked me for my degree. Nobody asked me for proof that I knew what I was talking about. They just looked at me, and because I was fit and healthy, they assumed that I was going to be somebody that was good to listen to. And I was grateful for that. But you want to know what's also crazy is that I got my degree in physical education and health, and I was a fitness instructor. And when I went to go be a personal trainer, I was not even looking for it. I didn't even want to be a personal trainer because I was thinking, I'm really good at entertaining a whole group of people. I don't think I can entertain one person at a time. Joke's on me. I'm very good at entertaining anybody. So at the gym that I worked at, they said, do you want to be a personal trainer? And I said, I don't think I want to do. And they said, it's free because you are employed here. Do you want to do it? And I thought, okay, so guess what is crazy? My whole personal training degree, it was all online. It was like self-study, self-test. In my opinion, that's not the best way to become a personal trainer, but at the time, it was what worked. And I still was learning. I had a whole degree in physical education and health, so it was a good supplement. But my lesson here is that you have to continue learning because you want to know something else that's crazy? When I was in college, I failed nutrition the first time. And here I was, fast forward, like teaching people about their nutrition. And there was, even when I became a fitness instructor, I failed my first physical practicum by 1 point. And that's because my head or something was out of alignment. And I was not showing proper form because I was off. And if I would have let those things stop me, I would have made 18 months in business and been done. But continue learning and increasing your abilities. When people would ask me questions and I didn't know the answer, sometimes I was like, this is kind of silly because I'm Googling questions about food and I felt bad about that. But then I realized, no, I actually know the difference between garbage articles and true information because of my background in personal training and nutrition and fitness instructing. So you have to keep increasing your learning because that's what keeps you as an expert in your field. And out of the thousands of people that I've worked with, maybe less than 5 have ever asked me for my credentials. So do not feel like you have to go to an official college or go get an official degree, but you absolutely have to know what you're helping people do and you have to be better at it than them. That is my lesson for 2017. My lesson for 2018 is to hire people to help you. Now, when I think about the people that I hired, there was a lot of differences that happened. I learned a lot of things because my husband said, we need to go hire people. If you can hire anybody, they can go do the sales like you're doing. And I was so adamant. I said, I don't want anybody selling my stuff, just anybody. I want other certified personal trainers. because I don't want a salesman selling some sort of exercise or nutrition program that we can't deliver, or it's not right, or it's like, take this supplement, do these wraps, pills. Like, I did not want any piece of it. So we decided we were going to build a team, but I wanted to make sure that they were all certified personal trainers. But the reason why I say to hire people to help you is because it not just helps you grow and expand with your communication and your leadership, but your business is going to grow because of the amount of people that are in it and their own specific skill set. So to this day, 10 years later, I have people in my business and as contacts and my friends that were introduced to me because of the people that I hired on my team. So I want you to know, you don't have to become like this multi-million-dollar business. You don't have to run your business like anybody else. You don't have to build it exactly like you think you should, but you do have to hire people. One, and Marshall Goldsmith taught me this. Marshall Goldsmith, if you don't know, he's the highest paid executive coach there is. Only $1.4 million a quarter to work with him. And while he was coaching me, he was also working with the CEO of Ford and Pfizer and Girl Scouts. And he told me this when we sat down for our very first call. Marshall said, there's two things you should know about me. And he said, I'm not that smart and I'm not motivated to do anything. And I was thinking, oh my gosh, what did I get myself into? What kind of coach am I working with if he's not that smart and he's not motivated to do anything? And he taught me that he's got to hire people to do things he doesn't know how to do. And he's got to hire people to do the things he doesn't want to do. And I thought, you know what? That is very, very important. So in my year in 2018, the lesson for this year was, it was really nice to have other people on my team to do the things I didn't want to do and to help me magnify the things I did want to do. And they brought extra or different expertise to what we were doing. So my lesson for 2018 that I learned, hire people to help you. Not only is business challenging at times, but it can be very lonely too. So having a team to talk to about the growth of your business is really, really great. That's my lesson for 2018. For 2019, my lesson is absolutely fire people you can't stand. Okay? When I think about my journey of having a team of trainers that worked for me, I learned a lot, and one by one, we parted ways for different reasons. Some reasons were great, some reasons were not great. And I talk about it in my book, Becoming Boss Minded. But there was a time in my business, I have this Facebook group, it still is there. There's 15,000 people in it. It's for a topic that obviously I don't love, but I started the group because I needed it. I found somebody from that group and he said, hey, I'm so great at this thing and you have this big group. Can we use you as a case study and we will work together? And I said, you know what? That's fine. We have goals and there's obviously this piece of the puzzle I haven't figured out yet, which is why I started a group for support and help. And I said, while you're building that, I'm going to be over here doing my thing. I'm going to be hosting classes. I'm going to be making sales. I'm going to be acquiring clients. And while you work on this over here, I will work on this over here. Now, I was doing my thing. It was working. And because their structure was not happening fast enough and we were paying this person for results that we weren't getting, he decided he was going to come over here and start messing with my stuff. And I said, you need to leave me alone. I talked to you guys about this. I'm doing my thing. Go finish your project. And because my husband and I are in business together, it was a point of contention for both of us because we have different styles of how we like to do things. And we have different desires in how we want to grow the business. So there was a time, and this lesson is only in here because I found an old journal where I journaled out the struggles I was going through. And I cannot tell you how great business was once we got rid of that person. Because if somebody in your company is causing contention or they're not a team player or they're not doing what they say, they're going to poison every single part of your business. And we do not want that. And I think it was actually Gary Vee who said that. He said, if there is somebody who's toxic or poison in your company, but you're keeping them because they're a high performer, you are ruining your entire team. So if you're listening to this and somebody has popped up in your mind of somebody you really don't like or they're causing problems, get rid of them. And I know that's easier said than done, but book a call with me. You guys can book a call with me, marcibarker.com, and we will go through the accountability code and I will help you do it in the right way so that you feel at peace for what you're doing. But this is your business. This is your organization. This is a place where you get to call the shots. If somebody is poisoning that for you, you don't deserve that. Absolutely get rid of them. So that's my lesson for 2019. My lesson for 2020, I don't know about you guys, but when you hear 2020, you're like, we all think of the same thing, COVID. And in 2020, when COVID happened, in my own personal life, I was serving, I had a calling at church where I was over the women 18 and up. And when COVID happened, we had to go check on everybody, make sure they were fine. But in Utah, there was an earthquake, like within a week or two after the shutdown. And we had an earthquake. And I remember everybody not caring that COVID was a thing. It was more like, no, now we are worried about this earthquake that's happening. So in my business, I was trying to juggle some things. I had just hired a coach in January to teach me how to do events because she had really large events. And I was like, she knows what she's doing. I'm going to work with her. And then March happened and then nobody was doing events. So it was a big bummer. But the lesson that I'm getting to is do not believe the fear. You know, a lot of people say people aren't buying because the economy or this is happening or this is happening. And I hear too many people having excuses on their own progress because they chose to believe somebody else's problem. And I don't want that to happen for you. And during this time in COVID and the earthquakes, I remember talking to the other people that I served with at church. One person was on a cruise when the earthquake and the shutdown happened. And then another person worked for Disney Getaway Today. So she was completely unavailable because she was bombarded with having to change everybody's travel plans. And I remember feeling like, I have to make a choice here. I have to be able to help others and serve people and make sure everything is fine, or like continue to run my business, even though I just paid thousands of dollars and hired this coach who could help me run events, and now events are not a thing. And I decided I was going to go all in anyway with anything that she could teach me. And one thing that was so interesting is that we're online doing calls and all of a sudden her background starts shaking. And she was experiencing aftershocks. She was right by where the earthquake was. We felt the initial one, but she was doing these live trainings with aftershocks happening, like pictures falling off her wall and her desk shaking. And she's like, you guys, this doesn't matter. We're going to keep going. We're going to build our business. Like, this is not a reason for all of you to just stop. And that gave me a lot of comfort because I could have chosen to be like, well, I'm shutting down. COVID's going to ruin my business. And I'm not trying to downplay anybody who lost a significant amount of progress or their business during COVID. But for me, in my own situation, I chose to move forward. And I realized that if I was going to listen to people who are naysayers or people who are negative, that was never, ever going to benefit me in business. So my lesson for 2020 is don't believe fear-based beliefs and don't adopt somebody else's problem as your own. Don't do it. That's not ever going to benefit you. Find a way to make things happen, because no matter what happens in this world, somebody's business is always growing, and there's no reason why it can't be yours too. All right, that's my lesson for 2020. My lesson for 2021 is be willing to shift everything to be in alignment. Now, 2021, this was a time where I had just hit 5 years in business. And I was so excited that I hit 5 years in business because I heard the stats of how many people don't make it in business. But I was not happy with what I had built. Remember, I had a team of people and I had worked with people. I just fired this person who was supposed to help me. So my business was always like side hustle status. And I wasn't happy with that because I wasn't making the kind of money that should have come with the kind of time I was putting into it. So 2021 is the year that I decided to be on a big production. It was a competition for business owners to scale. And I sat there in my room My husband was gone. He was out of the country. He was looking at land to buy. We were going to go travel internationally. We got the kids the passports, everything. And I got this opportunity and I was like, this is it. I either need to realign my whole entire business or I need to be done. I need to be done and focus on something else because I want more than I'm getting. And keep in mind too, 2020, my business grew online, but it still wasn't the direction that I wanted to go. I wanted to do big events. I wanted to get in person with people. I wanted to create community. And so this opportunity came up and I decided that I was going to let go of everything. My lesson here is be willing to shift everything to be in alignment because I did not want to continue running a business that was hardly making any extra money. You know, my business paid for my lifestyle and it was great, but I just knew that the reward was supposed to be bigger for how much work I was putting into it. So that is when I discontinued my membership and I realized through all of the mentoring and coaching that I went through that fitness was not my passion. I was tired of talking to people about their weight and how much they're eating and what they're doing for exercise. Because when I had real personal conversations with them, I'm like, your weight is not the problem. You're in competition with your husband. You don't know how to talk to your kids. You have secret addictions you're keeping from your family. Like the amount of nutrition advice and exercising, that doesn't solve the problems. So I got really clear about what's been there from the beginning, and it's always been accountability. I have always desired and been really good about helping people make the right decisions for them. And when I step back and I look at that, my top 5 strengths are communication, which is perfect because I love to talk. I love to share messages and I love to make points from one person to the next. Like if we can edify and grow each other, communication is how we do that. My second strength is harmony. And at first, when I learned that one of my strengths is harmony, I was like, that does not make sense because I am not a peacemaker, that's for sure. And I can be a very judgmental person. But as I dove into it, I was like, oh, harmony is actually what I strive for, which is why I'm willing to have hard conversations and why I'm willing to make hard choices is because I want everybody to experience that peace on the inside. Even when I was doing fitness and people would ask me, what I like to do, what's my favorite part of what I do. And I always said, I want people to look in the mirror and be happy with who they are, but not just the physical sense. Because when you look in the mirror and you stare into your eyes, you know everything about yourself. You know the secrets, you know the good things, you know the hard things. And when you're at a place of harmony on a personal level, that feels good. And I've always desired to help people get there. Hey, my beautiful people. If you're loving these episodes, you'll want the full experience. I've bundled both of my books, The Accountability Code and Becoming Boss Minded, into one powerful package. You'll get instant access to the audiobooks and ebooks so you can learn and grow anytime, anywhere. Head to bossminded.com and grab the book bundle now. It's the perfect way to stay inspired between episodes. All right, let's dive back in. My third strength is input. And input has helped me take in information like being a personal trainer and fitness instructor and even getting my degree in physical education and health, planning rubrics and lesson plans and tracking stats, looking at grades, looking at macronutrients, micronutrients, training load, timing, all of this. I'm really good at taking in information and filing it away in my brain until I need it. And as a coach who specializes in accountability, it's really nice to be able to pull out those little facts about people that help reveal more about themselves so that they can get the outcome that they want to. My fourth strength is woo. And also, when I heard about that one, I was like, that makes no sense because woo makes it sound like hippie woo-woo. But actually, woo stands for winning others over. And for me, being a very prideful and extroverted person, I like when people like me and I want people to like me because I think I'm an awesome person and I think I can add a lot to their lives. So my woo aspect is what makes accountability fun, and it's what is that natural kick in the pants that people are looking for. And I did not put the word loving in front of my nickname. You're loving kick in the pants. My clients actually did that, which I'm grateful for. But woo is if you're listening to this podcast, it's because there's something here that you like. And I like that. So I try to do more of that just by being authentic and being myself. Now, my last top strength is activator, which makes perfect sense because if you're asking for a loving kick in the pants, girl, we're going to get it done. And I'm going to be here to help you take action and to create that harmony and alignment in your life. Now, I just gave you a really long answer to this lesson. Be willing to shift everything to be in alignment. Me talking about how good I am at accountability is my strength. And I realized that the vehicle of personal training and health was not it for me. And it was a really hard decision that I had to make to get rid of my fitness membership because one, that was my only income in my business. People paying me every single month for my expertise, my meal plans, my training, and my education, and most importantly, my accountability. But when I looked at that and I thought, how am I going to shift? I was like, accountability's been here from day one and I'm not giving it up. I'm not giving accountability up at all. And that shift was absolutely necessary for me to stay in business because I had to keep up what I enjoyed doing. So my lesson for 2021 is be willing to shift everything to be in alignment because you're not going to last long if you're not enjoying what you're doing and if you're not good at what you're doing. So it can be a hard pill to swallow. But again, deep down, you probably know things in your life or your business that need to change. My lesson is be willing to shift because you will be so glad you did. And just for reference, like in 2021, it was a year of breaking down things that weren't working anymore so that I could have space and clarity to build something new. So my lesson for 2022 is to get clear about what you're selling and what your brand is. So once I figured that out, that it was like, okay, I'm not a fitness person. I'm not a personal trainer. I don't care about how much you're eating and how much you weigh. I care about how you talk to yourself. I care about how you're using your body to follow through with what's in your heart and your brain. That's what I care about. And if we have to talk about hard conversations, if we have to call out your secrecy or we have to change the patterns you've set up to keep yourself safe, like that's what we're going to do. And in this lesson of get clear about what you're selling, that's when I wrote my book. My book was written in 2021 and I published it in the beginning of 2022. That changed everything for me in my business, not just because I was happier and more passionate about what I do, but that's when I started making six figures, guys. Like when I actually pursued what I wanted to do and what I was good at, the money came, and the money came big time. I quadrupled my income from 2021 to 2022. So if there's something in your business that doesn't quite jive, be willing to change it and get clear about what you want now and what your brand is. So when I started putting all these pieces together, like my book is the accountability code, my tagline is wake up and show up, my nickname is your loving kick in the pants, and I've got programs, I've got retreats, I've got this podcast, I've got this community, all of it just feels so good. And when you can offer something to your clients that are exactly what they need, like that's just the sweet spot, not just in life and business, but you're building something that you want to be proud of. And that's what that lesson is for. So my lesson for 2022 is get clear about what you're selling and what your brand is. My lesson for 2023 is try things that scare you. And the reason why this is the lesson for 2023 is because this is the year that my husband and I moved across the country without knowing a soul. We really had no big necessary reason to do it, but we realized we didn't want to be stuck somewhere that we didn't have to be. We didn't want to be stuck somewhere that we didn't choose. We wanted to go out and try new things, but also experience something different because born and raised in Utah, it was great, but I did not want to be there my whole life. And some of these other business lessons I've talked about, there were things in my life that I just was like, you know what? I'm ready for a fresh start. I'm ready for something different. And I'll be completely honest about it. Like we could go and buy another house because of more money that we were making. So we kept our home in Utah. We still have it. We use it as an Airbnb, a short-term rental, and I do retreats there as well. So you have to be willing to try things that scare you. And one of the things that also comes to mind is like retreats. There was a time, like I said, I hired a coach to help me do big events, and I always desired to do retreats. And I wasn't really sure how to do that, but when I worked with a community, when Boss Minded was started, it had a previous name, and we decided we wanted to do retreats. And I was thinking, you know what? We're going to try it out. Let's get together and talk about stuff. And we did our first retreat. I think the first retreat was actually in 2022. And it turned out really, really well. And so 2023 was the year that I started doing solo retreats. I did them for my own company and not just the community that I was help building. And now it's crazy to think like I could whip out a retreat in a weekend. You know, I could even sell out a small retreat in a weekend and it would be a piece of cake. But back then I was so scared. I didn't know how to do it. And nobody had taught me how to do retreats. I took no course on it or anything. I was excited to try it. And I had a little bit of help to make it happen with other people who desired to do it. So with retreats, I hadn't hosted my own retreat, but I had helped. I had co-hosted a retreat in Costa Rica. I went to North Carolina and I did them there. I did one in Texas, and it was time for me to do it on my own. So try things that scare you. It doesn't matter if it's a retreat, if it's an event, if it's an online Zoom call, you know, even as big as moving across the country. Like, you have to do things that scare you, because that's when you put things into perspective and you realize that there's more to life than just whatever little problem or whatever big problem you have right now. There's so much more, and trying things that will scare you. I guess I'm also putting this lesson in here because I would not be where I am today if I didn't do a lot of things that scared me, like grabbing the mic at a conference, or firing somebody that I didn't like, or telling somebody, hey, I need more help in my business. Do you want to come along with me for the ride? You have to be able to do it. And the biggest reason why you need to do things that scare you is, one, it's going to help you expand. But two, if you try and you fail, now you have clarity. Now you know what will happen, and you don't have to live with what if, or I should have done this, or I wished I would have done that. You don't have to do that. In my own business now, I have like 3 really big things on my calendar that are scary and intimidating. And part of me is like, I kind of just want to tell them, never mind. I'm glad that you hired me, but never mind. But you know what? I'm grateful for these opportunities that scare me, because guess what? They are the same things that I have prayed for, and they are the same things that I've prepared myself for. And these are the same things that I hoped I would do one day. And it's okay that it's a little bit scary, because it's necessary, and it's going to get me to a place that I've hoped for. And the same thing is going to be true with you too. So if there's something on your radar that kind of scares you a little bit, do it. It could be as simple as attending an event when you don't have anybody to go with. Just go. It might be a little bit scary, but you'll be so glad that you did. That's my lesson for 2023. My lesson for 2024 is manage your money. This one I put here because for years and years and years, you know, I started my business in 2015. I wanted my business to mean something, and I wanted to bank my progress, like literally bank my progress. And remember when I told you guys I hit 5 years in business, but I had built something I wasn't super proud of? When I hit 5 years in business, I was applying to do this mini Shark Tank thing where you had to do all of your numbers and your projections, and you had to tell people what you were selling and what you think you were going to make in the next couple of years. And I was excited to do this opportunity, and I did all the numbers. I went back into all of my books and I did all of my bookkeeping the way I should have been doing it the whole entire time. And I looked at my profit and I looked at my expenses, and I realized that the year that I hired people to help me, I made $66,000 that year, and my expenses were $65,000. That makes no sense. That is not how you're supposed to run a business. I was happy that I got to that point and had those lessons, but I was like, holy crap, I'm doing something wrong. So that's one reason that I shifted a lot, is because I built a business in some of the wrong ways. And a couple years ago when I started making 6 figures, I was like, this is enough money to actually do stuff with, go and purchase another house on the other side of the country, or to travel more. So manage your money. I was really happy. Like, my kids have always worked for me. I've paid them. My tax person said it's counted as outside labor, and you pay them and it's all fine. But as an entrepreneur for the last 10 years, I've never had retirement. I've never had a 401k. I've never had an employer match. I've never had anybody save money for me. Even growing up, my parents did not save one penny for me. So when my business started growing a lot, I had a desire to make sure that like I said, banking my progress. So I put my kids on payroll a couple years ago. We actually did that before we moved across the country, but I put my kids on payroll, like actual payroll. They pay payroll taxes, and I write it off in my business. We do payroll every single month. But the reason why I put manage your money here is because for the last year and a half or so, my kids and we've been contributing to our retirement. And managing money, not just in business, but personal, has been a really good way to keep me going in business and to make it fun and enjoyable. And even our last team meeting, I sat down with my kids and I said, this is the money that's in your Roth IRA right now. And if we keep at this pace, then by the time you guys retire, you're going to have $250,000 for doing nothing, absolutely nothing. You just got to keep putting $100 in there a month. And that's it. That's doable. That's very doable. But then when we sit down and we say, okay, let's max out these plans, and let's make sure that you're working to earn money, but also working to learn skills and to provide opportunities for you. We need to make sure it's happening. So if we max out our IRAs, my girls could have $4 million by the time they retire. And that makes me happy because, like I said, my parents never did that for me. My parents did not save a penny for me. I opened up my first bank account on my own when I was 16 years old, and I worked multiple jobs. I paid for everything that I had. I paid for my gas, my car insurance, my phone, my books in high school, and I'm grateful for all of those lessons. But man, I would have had a little bit more grace in my life had I known that I had savings or something set up for my future. Even if I started it out at the time I was married. I've been married 18 years now, but I did not start putting away money for retirement in this method until a couple years ago. So manage your money, whatever you're at. If you are 50 years old, I don't care. If you're just starting out, that's even more important, but manage your money. And that's such a blanket statement, a general statement. I know that. There is a chapter in my book, Becoming Boss Minded, about profit and finance. So we can go deeper with that, but I just want you to know, like, you're probably listening to this right now and you already have an idea of how you can manage your money. If you need to do better about something, cancel subscriptions, just budget. There's so many different things that you can do, but I want you to know, when you manage your money, that's a type of organization that's going to only grow your business and improve your life. So if you're growing a business, be putting money away, because I don't know how long I'll be in business. I don't know if I want to go out and do other things, or there's actually other opportunities in my life that are coming, and they're only coming because I've been in business this long. And that's really exciting. But at the end of the time, the end of my life, I want to know that everything I did had a purpose. And if I can transfer that to everybody I work with, the people that come into my life, or even my own children, that's going to be worth it. So manage your money. Again, blanket statement, but I know there's something you can do to improve. And again, you can book a call with me, marcibarker.com, and we'll go through the accountability code and we'll talk about how you can do better with your finances. But I am so grateful to be working on my business with that added security of, I know that it's building my legacy. So that's my lesson for 2024. Now we're in the middle of 2025. I mean, it's almost over. That's so crazy. It's going by so fast. But my last lesson and bonus lesson for this podcast is, your legacy is being built right now. Whether you like it or not, people are going to remember things about you. There are pieces of your life or business that are going to last much longer than you. But at the end of the day, every single choice you make right now makes a difference. And you don't have to be perfect. by any means, you do not have to be perfect, but I do want you to know that every single day that you sit down to work on your business or to organize your life or to be more productive in your day, it's absolutely going to benefit you. And when business has been hard, and there are times when I've been like, I'm going to quit. I'm just going to go be a bagger at the grocery store so I can talk to people and get a discount on my groceries. When those hard times hit, I'm so glad that I have a business that challenges me, that helps me improve as a person, that is a vehicle for my own family's finances, and that is an opportunity for me to go out and meet people. And just this morning, I went to a breakfast I was invited to because I volunteered for an organization. And as I sat in that room and talked to a few new people, I just was overcome with gratitude that this is the life that I live. And not that our whole lives are about business, because they're not, but what our whole lives are about are the choices that we make every single day. And again, you heard it in my podcast intro. You're either doing things you know you shouldn't, or you're not doing things you know you should. And I hope that whatever you're working on right now is an opportunity for you to practice that alignment and to be more accountable to yourself. At the end of the day, at the end of your life, I want you to look in the mirror and love who you see, have zero regrets, and know that you gave it your all. So that is my gift to you today. I've been in business 10 years. Here's to 10 more. I'm very excited for the things that I have in my pipeline, but most importantly, I'm grateful for all of you. You guys are not just my biggest supporters, but you guys are also my friends too. And I'm really, really grateful for that. And I do not take it lightly. And I'll finish out with a quick story. When I first wrote my book, I went to lunch with a guy and he said, you wrote a book on accountability? You have to always be on top of your game then. And I said, yeah, I do, but so do you. We are all desiring to be accountable, and accountability means your ability to fulfill desired expectations. So if you're listening to this and you're listening to those little gut checks that you have, or the pounding in your heart to say or do something, my job as your loving kick in the pants is to help you do that, because it might be difficult, but it's going to create peace and happiness in your life. And if I can help you do that by taking you through the accountability code, or growing your business, or providing you with that next relationship or contact you're looking for, I would love to do that. So good luck to you all. If you are, in your first year of business, keep it going. If you have hit that 5-year mark, be proud of yourself. And if you've hit 10 years and beyond, keep going. You have reasons to keep going, and you have people in your life that need you, and they need to see you succeed as an inspiration to them. So I will see you all next week for another episode of Your Loving Kick in the Pants. Thanks for tuning in, friend. If this episode gave you value, don't just keep it to yourself. Share it with someone in your circle who's ready to wake up, show up, and grow their business without sacrificing what matters most. When you do, you're not just helping them, you're building your network of like-minded leaders. And I'll say this plainly, leaving a kind review matters more than you know. It helps more people find the show, and it keeps the momentum going. So pause for a moment and please drop that review. Lastly, if there's a topic you want me to cover, I want to hear from you. Reach out, because this podcast is for you and I'm here to serve. Until next time, stay boss-minded.